Hey y'all, this is AL Think Madame. This is the disclaimer for those of you who have not been on here at all or consistently. Just to let y'all know, this is not trash or dandruff or flakes or whatever. Anytime you see all this stuff right here or whatever, and occasionally over here, is gray hairs. So you see a flicker and all that, that's what it is. It's my gray hairs, and I have not been consistent in doing what I told y'all I wanted to do to see if I could revert my graying as I have seen other people do. I have everything, but I've never consistent. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into this story time, y'all. So this is a story time that I think I have spoken briefly about my stalker, and this is actually going to be an update if I have done it before, but just in case, let me go back. So when I first met this guy, I was walking to work at the previous job that I had. I lived that close to where I could walk a couple of miles to work, and I would walk home unless like one of my friends or supervisors or whatever could take me home. They would take me close to home or up this hill, because I had to like go up a hill, and it was like crazy on my knees and my back, but I would do it whenever I had to. And sometimes I would allow people to take me home, a very, very select few people. Now, this was all during the time when I didn't have a vehicle, because my previous vehicle, the axle broke off in the middle of traffic after I'd just gotten something randomly done to it, just gotten out of the shop, which I've never had any issues with my car before. And that was the first time, and then that screwed me. I'm in another state. At that time, I was living in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I was without a car for a few years. So before I was able to get this car, I was walking to work. I walked to work or catch the bus or whatever. It was more convenient for me to walk to work because of where I was working. And the way that the bus system is, it's not like how some places are where they have trains and all this other stuff that runs 24 hours. Because of the way this job is, if I were to catch the bus, I would run the risk of not being able to get into work. Meaning they had this thing where you need to get there early if you are a certain type of worker. They might not have a lot of work for you to do, so you would get there early. I literally would get there between 4:30 and 5 a.m. at first, like the first few years I was there. Anyway, back to the story at hand. So some time has passed by, and it's wintertime at this point, and I still walk to work. I had a Berber coat, so even when it would be 0 degrees, 10 degrees, all that, I had no problem walking to work because I was fine. Like, that coat was amazing. My mama got it for me, and it was a Christmas gift for me, and it was amazing, and I love that coat. And I have since bought another one that's a shorter version of it and a different color, but it's amazing. Like, it really does keep you warm. And the only thing that I really had to worry about were my hands and my feet, because I'm anemic and I'm always freezing anyway. So those were the only things on me that were cold. So I'm walking to work, minding my business. And the way that I started walking the last leg of my distance to work, it's kind of this main road that everybody who drives or walks goes down if you live down a certain way, or you come in a certain way to work, because there are several ways you can come into work. And for some reason, a lot of people will come down that way. So every now and again, I would be able to catch a ride the rest of the way to work, and they would just drop me off in the parking lot, and I could go in. Well, this particular day, I'm walking. I literally just got out of my neighborhood, and there's this guy who rolls up on that same street. And he was like, "Hey, how you doing? You work with me. I'll take you the rest of the way." And so I'm looking like, well, I don't know him, but I'm used to people stopping and doing that actually do work there. So I didn't think nothing of it. So he, took me the rest of the way, which literally was less than 30 seconds when you're driving, like less than a minute when you're driving. and it takes me like a couple of more. And since it was really freezing that day and it was windy, I took him up on that offer. So I got in, he talked to me, and he seemed like a nice Christian older guy. He dropped me off. I ain't think nothing of it. So we get in the building, and I put my coat up on the rack, and he come out of nowhere and just started talking to me. And I was like, oh, that's the guy who dropped me off. And so, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, he does work here. Cool, whatever. So, y'all, come to find out, this man lived in my neighborhood. Like, literally, I live on this street. He lives on the street that you would have to turn off of. Like, he lives like I could walk to his house in less than 2 minutes if I wanted to. That's how close he lived. Like, I could walk a few steps and I could kind of look up and then I could see his car. Like, that's how close he lived to me. I didn't know this. Y'all tell me why. Somebody in the apartment came to get me. They knocked on my door. They're like, I think you have a visitor outside. And I'm looking like, a visitor? Because I ain't had nobody to come visit me. Like, nobody comes to visit me. I don't invite anybody over, especially where I was living at the time. Like, I did not invite nobody over there. So I was like, a visitor? Like, what? So, y'all, I go outside. I see this little bitty green hatchback car. And I was looking like, who is this? As soon as the dudes see me, because I'm really kind of peeping out the door, like, who is this? And so I come out, and I'm looking up and down the street, like, who could be here for me? I don't know nobody. Y'all, old boy was like, hey, how you doing? I was just letting you know that, we're neighbors, and we live in the same neighborhood, and since we're going to the same place, if you can get outside and meet me at that stop sign up there, I don't mind taking you to work every day because it's right up the street, and we work together, so it's not a bother, it's not an inconvenience or whatever. And I was like, I don't know about all that, but okay. He was like, okay, so if you change your mind, just know, you could just be at that stop sign by this time. So at this point, I was freaked out a little bit, but I'm not easily scared of people or whatever, or like to the point where I'm like, ooh, I'm just so, like, I'm not easily like that, like, when it comes to people in most cases. So I was like, what in the world? But I was like, okay, how did he even know I lived here? Like, I'm very confused. So after it was all said and done, I connected the dots. But anyway, y'all, since that kind of freaked me out a little bit, I made a point to leave later than when I was going to. Because either I would have to leave really, really early or later than the time that he was talking about, because I wanted to completely miss him. Y'all, tell me why this fool knew that I was leaving. Like, he had his car warmed up. I guess he had his car like parked up far enough to where he could see when I came out of my house. And even though I left earlier or later, he still came out of nowhere and was like, hey, I could take you the rest of the way. And I was like, dang, I thought I missed him. What the crap? So, I went on ahead and rolled with him because somebody was like, well, y'all work together. It's okay. And whatever. So I was like, okay. I didn't think nothing of this man at all. Like, he didn't seem threatening as far as, I don't know. I didn't get a certain vibe from him at first, because every time I saw him, he was blasting a lot of gospel music that I live for. And when we would talk, he would talk about God, and it was a decent moment for the few moments that I would be in the car. So I didn't think anything of it. Like, he just seemed like a regular person. Y'all, tell me why I'm at work one day and his sister is told, your brother over there fighting. He's like in another part of the area that we were working in. And she took off, starts running to the area that he's in. And I'm like, what? And I was like, wait a minute, ain't her brother that guy? And y'all, come to find out, he was working in an area with this woman. And The woman kept trying him all day. His wife it was, I think she was sick at the time. She was sick, and they weren't together anymore. And she kept randomly saying stuff to him, and from everybody else's account, she kept trying him, kept trying him, kept trying him, and then she actually blatantly said something like, "Well, that's why your wife left you, and that's why you single now," or something. And like he went upside her head. So I was like, "What?" So he like snapped out of nowhere. And all I know is by the time all that happened, it was about to be break time. I went on break. I ain't think nothing of it no more. Y'all went on break, and then I looked through the window. All of a sudden, we see him being escorted out of the building in handcuffs. I was like, what in the world? Because at the time, I didn't know what all was going on. And then that's when people started telling me that that's what went down. And I was like, oh my gosh. And like, even though this woman is like a crazy instigator and then some, and a lot of people kind of felt like she needed hands thrown at her, I'm just like, I don't know if I agree with all that, but at the same time, you know, I really don't know. I ain't gonna touch on that, y'all. So he can no longer work at that job anymore. So I have, you know, I didn't really, like, at that time, I still didn't know any of this stuff about him as far as being a stalker and being crazy. Y'all tell me why. I was minding my business one day, out and about. I'm in food line, in line, and this man is in front of me talking on the phone. Y'all, it's him, and I don't even realize it's him because I didn't sit there and have like long conversations with him. I never had to work with him. And I was just like, why is this man he all of a sudden just started getting loud on the phone, like he was trying to make it so that I knew that it was him and he was on his phone or whatever. Then he finally got off his phone and he just like turned around like, here's Chucky. Hey, how you doing? Like, I was like, oh, I'm fine. How you doing? You know, I'm just like, hey, bye, whatever. And he knew that I didn't have a car. And this was like leading up to me about, I was going to go home and get a vehicle not long after this interaction. So he was like, well, you know, I could take you home. I was like, oh, no, I'm good. Y'all, I was about to call a cab to take me home. And I actually was about to move, too. And a little bit, like a couple of months out from that. So I was like, oh, no, I'm good. Somebody coming to get me. I hadn't even called a cab yet, y'all. I literally wait until I'm done. And then I call a cab. So it's going to take me but like 5 minutes to get there. Y'all, tell me why this man sat in the parking lot and waited until he saw somebody come to get me, and he pulled off as soon as he saw me put my groceries in the cart. For some reason that day, they took like a few minutes more than they normally do. So I don't like to just stand in the store, and it was a nice day that day. So I stood outside of the store, and then I didn't even realize that man was just still sitting in the parking lot until he pulled off. And like, he is so crazy. Like, he like really be looking at you. Like, I was like, this man sat here in this parking lot waiting on me to come out to see if I really had a way home. I was like, oh my gosh. Because if I wasn't going to catch the bus, I was going to catch a cab. If I wasn't going to catch a cab, I was going to, you know, get somebody to take me home, which that day I had one of my coworkers to drop me off, which is a friend of mine. And so she dropped me off there. So all I had to do was pay cab fare to get home. And that's faster to get home. And I don't have such a long walk from the bus stop in order to get home. And I have like a couple of inclines, even though it's still not that far from the bus stop. And it's a lot on you when you have groceries that you have to carry with you. Y'all, I was so done. I was like, what in the world's wrong with this man? Y'all, tell me why. At this point, I told one of my friends about it. She was like, girl, you know he crazy. I was like, what you talking about? She was like, oh, he crazy. You know he's a stalker, right? I was like, what? She was like, yeah, I thought you know. I was like, no. She was like, oh my God, I thought everybody knew he was a stalker. Apparently he stalked other people who've worked there before. And I was just like, no, I didn't know that. I thought he was a decent person. And that just kind of creeped me out when he did that. And I was just like, why would he just sit there in the parking lot and wait? Like, I told him I was good. He could have went on by his business. He had groceries too. And he sat in his car and waited until he saw me load my groceries into another vehicle. Then he sped off. Y'all, it ended up escalating after that. He would see me places. Like, every time I looked up, he would be there. I was just like, oh my gosh, why is he here? Okay. And I would just be like, hey, bye, y'all. Then eventually I got my car. And I hadn't moved yet. Tell me why I got my car. I literally had just came home from work, which was from the job that he can no longer come to. Y'all, this man rolled up on me, literally got in his car and came down the street that I live on and be like, yeah, I see you got a car now. And y'all, he actually is the type of person, from what he told me himself, he will go get a car and from auction or wherever and fix it up and sell them and all this other stuff. So every time I saw him, he was in a different car. He was driving a different car every time I saw him. So it's not like I could be like, okay, I'm going to be on the lookout for this little green car. Because that's what my first thought was after I realized that he was crazy. And every time I saw him, he was in something else. Like that time, he was in like one of those Lincoln Town cars that's like rounded off. Y'all, I was like, oh my gosh, what in the world's going on here? So he was like, oh, I see you got a car now. You ain't gonna need me no more. I was looking at him like, I didn't need you before. I've been walking. Like, what is going on here? I'm not above walking. I'm fat, but I don't mind walking. Y'all, tell me why. Like I said, I kept seeing him everywhere. And I was like, oh my gosh, y'all. So I had to go back and forth to the laundromat because I didn't have my washer and dryer yet. So one of the last times that I had to go before I actually was able to purchase a washer and dryer, full out, yes, it's paid for. I ain't have to do nothing crazy. I used my taxes wisely that year for that. Y'all, I was in the car talking to the same friend who told me that this man was a stalker. Literally was on the phone talking to her because my clothes were drying and it was a nice day outside. This was like fall weather. And somebody is like standing in the parking lot. You know how you see somebody and they're just there and you see them out your peripheral and you don't pay them no attention? And I was like, okay. Like he was kind of far off. And I was like, okay, somebody standing over there, but whatever. Y'all, this man came out of a random store in that same like shopping center. And he just stood there in the middle of the street. And I was like, okay. I didn't realize it was him. So then all of a sudden, he puts his stuff in his car. I'm thinking, oh, okay, yeah, this fool finna leave. He sat in his car and looked at me a little bit longer. Like he might have been like 10 parking spaces away from me. So I was like, okay, and kept on talking to my friend. Y'all, then he get back out his car. At that time, he had some kind of older Jeep Cherokee situation. And I'm looking like, why is this man walking in my car? So then I look over, I see it's him. Y'all, this man is sloppy drunk in public driving. This man is getting in vehicles driving and he was towed down. Like you could tell he was drunk as a skunk, as we say back home. I was like, what is going on? So he rolled up to my car and I had my windows like up. And like my side of the window, my driver's side window was cracked and he came from the passenger side. And so I was like, girl, oh my gosh, old boy here. And so I let the window down a little bit, like just a little bit. He was like, you can't speak to nobody. You don't speak to nobody. You too good to speak to somebody. I was like, what are you talking about? I didn't even see you. He was like, I've been right here the whole time. You act like you can't see nobody. You act like you too good to speak. I was like, no, that's not in my personality. I'm not like that. I speak to any and everybody. Hey, how you doing? He was like, oh, okay. I'm good. How you doing? I said, I'm fine. He was like, so you washing your clothes today? I was like, yep. Waiting on my clothes now. He was like, oh, okay. Well, I ain't seen you in a while. I was like, yep. And like, he really sat up there trying to have a random conversation with me. Whole time I'm sitting up here looking at him like, I wish you would get away from my car. Get away from me. So then, like, I guess he kind of gets the hint. So he was like, well, I guess I'll leave you to it then. I guess I'll leave you alone. You have a good day. I said, you do the same. Let the window with the quickness, right? So then, like, he you know, try to pimp off. And he keep on looking at, like, he does this thing where he looks at you Like, he looks like he can look through you. Like, I cannot stand when people do that. And that's what he kept doing. He walked off and he already was looking crazier than normal because he was drunk. So then he looking through me. He kept looking back and looking back and looking back at me. Like, I'm like, this fool finna die and trip over air trying to look back at me and walk at the same time, and you drunk. Y'all, this fool had a plan to sit up here and wait on me so that he can trail me to where I live now, because he doesn't know where I live. Because he brought that up in the conversation too. He was like, well, you moved. I ain't seen you since where you live. I was like, I don't live too far away or whatever. I was like, I still live in, this city. That's what I said. And he was like, oh, okay. Because he asked me if I still lived in this city. I was like, yeah, I still live here. Like, I guess he thought I was about to tell him my address or something. Like, I'm not inviting you over. You don't need to know where I live. Y'all, he sat there trying to wait for me to leave. So my clothes, I have a timer on my phone. So when the time was up, I said, let me get out of here. And I told my friend, I said, girl, he real drunk. I don't know what he gonna do. I think he's sitting up here trying to wait for me to leave so he could tell me and so he can see where I live now. So I went in there and got my clothes. He's still sitting in the car. And he looking at me like, you could tell he looking at me. He doing this. As he watching me walk by, because he's really, like, for real, zoomed in on me. And I'm like, oh my God, Jesus, let me get out of here. And so my plan was this. I said, okay, I'm not going to go home. I'm going to go a completely different way. And if he keep on following me, I'm going to drive right to the police station. I didn't really know how to get to it because I'm not from here, but I was going to put it right in my GPS situation and I was going to get there. And you follow me on up into the police station. You do that. You do that because you ain't going to follow me to the house. Y'all, I crunk up the car. So I was like, oh my gosh. Like, at this time I am, like, right now, because I'm like, okay, I don't know how to take him because he's drunk. And he actually has an arrest record. He has been in physical altercations with people, not just the woman that was at the job that we were at. He's had situations where he was doing some assault and battery to relatives. He's gotten arrested for that. He's had some disorderly conduct stuff. He has stolen credit cards and all that from people. He's had some grand larceny charges. He had a whole lot of domestic violence stuff, harassment charges, all that. Oh, Lord, y'all. One point in time, he got, like, arrested 2 or 3 times in a month. And, like, one of his pictures was literally like this. I was like he really, like, if I could, like, put his face over my face in one of those apps for y'all to see exactly how he was looking, I wish I could show y'all the picture. I have the picture. And in that picture, when he took that was, like, the second time he got arrested in that month. He really looked demonic in that picture. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And I sent a screenshot of it to my friend. She was like, oh no, this fool is crazy. You could see the crazy all in his eyes. I was just like, oh my gosh. He one of the people that you gotta watch. He will shoot up a whole building. I see him being an active shooter, like, for real. This is a fool. Y'all. With that story, all I gotta say is God is good, because he saw me get in my car. I cranked my car up. He tried to crank his up and it wouldn't work. I said, oh, okay, let me hurry up before he can crank his car up. I pull off. And so I'm kind of looking at him without letting him see I'm looking at him. And so he keep looking at me and trying to crank his car up. Keep looking at me trying to crank the car. It wouldn't work. He got so mad. I looked in the river. This man in here beating the steering wheel, mad because he can't follow me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a fool. This is a fool. He really was everything I thought he was about to do. He really was about to do that. He really was about to try to follow me to my house. Y'all, I was so done. But for some reason, I hadn't seen this man in, like, over a year until now. This man works at the part-time job that I just started working last Monday. I didn't know he was there until, like, day 3 of me working. And it was random because he started talking to this other woman that I've been training with. And they were just talking. And I was like, person's voice sounds familiar, but I kept ignoring him because I'm the type of person that if you're not talking to me, I'm ignoring you. Even if I hear you not talking to me, I'm not about to really butt into your conversation like that. Like, it has to be something like really interesting that I really can relate to, that I'm gonna butt into your conversation to say something and, talk to you. So then he asked me out of nowhere, like, this literally is like the last hour and a half of work that night for me, because the shift he works is longer than what I work because I'm part-time and he's full-time on that shift. He asked me if he could take something somewhere for me, if I was done with it. And then I'm the type of person that sometimes I don't realize you're talking to me, and then something dawns on me, be like, wait a minute, I think somebody's talking to me. So I looked up. I looked at his face. I saw it was him. I was like, wait a minute. Because I don't usually see him with glasses on. I was like, wait a minute. I know this ain't who I think it is. So then he asked me if he could take something somewhere for me. And I was like, yeah, I'm done. And then as soon as he walked off, I realized that it was him. And I was done for the rest of the night. I was like, okay, no, this is too much. And I was wondering why he was in the area that I was in, because normally guys aren't really over there like that, especially doing the job that he does. And I was just like, okay, why is this guy over here? Okay, cool. And we already had like enough people in that area, so I was confused. But that was why, because he was trying to get close to me. We literally were like next to each other at points, and I didn't even realize that it was him. Y'all, I was so tired in my spirit. I was just like, oh my gosh. And then like, I wanted to go off at one point, because after that, I was on high alert because I realized that it was him. So he was talking to this lady, right? She's an older lady. He was talking to the lady, and then I think she was talking about Thanksgiving food, and he was like, well, I ain't gonna have nothing but a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. What I neglected to mention to y'all was, one of the last times that I rode with him before I found out that he was crazy, we had went out for the holidays. It was like Christmas or Thanksgiving holidays. So we finally came back to work, and I said, well, how was your time off? And he was like, that was really the first time I really tried to interact with him, because I was like, well, let me not be awkward like I usually am and not really say much, but thank you for the ride. I said, well, how was your time off? Did you enjoy your time off? He was like, well, no, because he had asked me, how was my time off? And I said, I'm fine. Mine was fine. How was your time off? And he was like, well, not too good. My ex-wife passed away, and I went to her funeral. And I was like, huh? So yeah, apparently he wasn't good to her either. So that's why when that situation happened, he was so belligerent in the moment. All of it was true. So even though that particular person is very messy, everything she'd been saying about him really was true. So that's why he reacted the way that he did. Y'all, so anyway, back to currently right now. Y'all, so the last 30 minutes of that day, thank God, some of the trainers came and got the group of us who were training, and they were rounding us up so that they could go over some stuff with us. And so he stopped everything he was doing, because the trainers had been trying to, remember our names. And so I was telling her mine, and my name isn't hard, but she keeps trying to say my name is Belinda, and that's not my name. And, she's really trying to get it. So she has a grandmother with the same, well, almost like the same name as mine. All she has to do is replace the G in her name with a B, and it's like, that's all you have to do. That's my name. So now she has my name. And he was like really zooming in and like, what is it? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, sir, if you don't get away. And I didn't even realize, because my thing is, I'm like, oh, we getting away from him. So I didn't even think nothing about him. Like, he is really back here in my mind at this point, because I'm like, ooh, they came and got us. I ain't got to work with him no more. So I'm not realizing that this fool is trying to figure out what my name is, possibly gonna try to look some information up on me. So I don't know if he was able to get it, but once I started realizing, I kind of started saying it lower, And then, you know, I'm like, well, hopefully he don't get it. Hopefully he didn't hear me, whatever. Y'all, I'm so tired. Like when I tell y'all I'm so tired, hopefully I work this holiday season and I can do what I want to do and just go back to one job, and it can be in my field of study, because this man will never be able to get a job even as a janitor or anything that's even low level at the places that I'm trying to go to that correspond to what I went to school for. So I'm not really worried about him. Where I work, they have a high security presence. They have police presence. They have security guards that are on it. They have cameras everywhere. So if he is to try me, I'm gonna have some for him. Now, for some reason, they won't allow us to have mace, pepper spray, and all this other stuff. I get it, but at the same time, I'm talking about to the point of where you can't have your own firearms in your car. You can't have any of these things in your car on their premises. Like, you can't have anything. Doesn't matter if you have a concealed carry. You can't do nothing. You can't have none of that in your vehicle. And if they find out that you have it in some way, you are fired on the spot. Like, that's how crazy it is. But I have these hands. I will kick him in the scrotum area if I need to. I know a little bit of karate to the point where I know I could take him down if I need to, but I know how some crazy people get down and they are unnaturally strong. So if somehow, some way he's able to get me, I'm going to be able to have the last laugh. I don't care what nobody say. I have some things with me that I can improvise with to do the job that I need to get done if he is going to try me. So I'm not worried about that. A lot of my family members and friends are very worried about my safety, but I'm not. I'm good. I'm just trying to get through this holiday season and make the money that I need to make, because I have so much stuff going on, y'all. I need some money for all kinds of things coming up, because this month took me out financially because I had so much stuff I needed to get done to my car in order to pass inspection. And that has made me behind on my 6 months car insurance and all this other stuff. Like, I'm never behind on any of my bills. And this is the first time that I'm going to have to ask these people for an extension so that I can pay that. Like, I've been toying with the idea of doing as other YouTubers have done and ask if there's anybody who wants to donate something, if it's $5 here, $10 there, or whatever, to PayPal or whatever. I've been thinking of doing that, just putting it down in the little description box at some point in time. I don't know, but I just feel like, on one hand, I'm like, well, I get why people do it, even though they have the revenue coming in from them getting the clicks and views and all that stuff, but I don't have any of that, and I'm struggling. I do need funds, but yeah, y'all. And then on the other hand, I'm just like, I just feel so bad. That's why I've never asked. So I'm still struggling with whether or not I would ever do that. Anyway, hopefully y'all liked what I put out here. This is very factual that has happened to me, and I'm gonna watch my back. Y'all pray for me. And, you know, pray for my safety. I hope that y'all have a wonderful weekend. Thank you to all of my new subscribers and all the faithful ones, the day ones. And hopefully y'all have been enjoying my reviews. I hope y'all have a good one, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.